Hello and welcome to this week's news bulletin from the Christian Institute. Defence Secretary Philip Hammond has strongly criticised his own party's leadership over their determination to rush through new gay marriage laws. The Cabinet Minister's comments come ahead of a two-day debate on the issue in Parliament next week. MPs will consider amendments to the same-sex couples bill before voting on whether the bill progresses to the House of Lords. Speaking on BBC's Question Time, Mr Hammond said the government has wasted too much time on the issue and should have been focusing on more important matters.
There is a real sense of anger among many people who are married that the government thinks that it has the ability, any government thinks that it has the ability to change the definition of an institution like marriage. And that is why the people who are opposed to this feel so very, very strongly about it. I have just never felt that this is what we should be focusing on. We have civil partnership, which seems to me to deal with the very real problem that same-sex couples faced. And it seems to me that there was no huge demand for this, and we didn't need to spend a lot of parliamentary time and upset vast numbers of people in order to do this.
A doctor in America has been found guilty of murdering 3 babies he delivered and killed in late-term abortions. The trial heard that Dr Kermit Gosnell routinely carried out illegal post-24-week abortions at a clinic in Pennsylvania. He would deliver babies alive, then use scissors to snip their spines. One of the babies was almost 30 weeks when aborted, and another clung to life for about 20 minutes, according to testimony. Tim Stanley, writing for The Telegraph, believes the trial outcome is a victory for human rights and has called for a fresh debate on when human life begins. He said the court has recognised that the babies Gosnell murdered were not just fetuses but human beings with an inalienable right to life. He says their status as human beings once they had exited the mother's body is a strange kind of ethics. It implies that you can commit whatever horrors you choose so long as your playground is within the corpus. 2 severely disabled men have been at the Court of Appeal this week in a push to legalise euthanasia and assisted suicide. Paul Lamb, who is not terminally ill but is paralysed from the neck down, wants to be euthanised. And a second man, known as Martin, has locked-in syndrome and wants a medical professional to be legally allowed to assist his suicide. Mr Lamb is joining the case begun by Tony Nicholson, who also had locked-in syndrome and lost his fight for euthanasia to be legalised last year. But many are concerned about the legal challenges. Even the head of Dignity in Dying, Sarah Wotton, has said she cannot support Mr Lamb's case as he is not terminally ill and it goes too far in challenging the law on murder. And Dr Peter Saunders from the Care Not Killing Alliance told BBC listeners that whilst he had every sympathy for Mr Lamb, any change to the law would be wrong and pose a genuine threat to vulnerable and disabled people.
The key point here is that he's arguing for a very radical change in the law. He's not wanting assisted suicide, help to kill himself, but actually euthanasia for a doctor to give him a lethal injection. And this threatens actually to drive a coach and horses through the murder law, and it has really far-reaching consequences for huge numbers of vulnerable, elderly and disabled people who could then feel pressure, whether real or imagined, to end their lives.
Attempts to curb the growth of quasi-legal systems in the UK which discriminate against women have been praised by Conservative MP Kris Hopkins. Mr Hopkins highlighted the work of Baroness Cox and her Arbitration and Mediation Services Bill. He said Baroness Cox's exceptional work in the House of Lords seeks to ensure that Sharia tribunals and councils operate within the law and should not form a concurrent legal system in the UK. There are an estimated 85 Sharia courts operating in the UK, and many are believed to discriminate against women and back polygamy. Mr Hopkins said in an article in the Yorkshire Post that he would like to hear from the government that there is only one law in the country and that Sharia councils must comply with UK law. US scientists have for the first time recovered stem cells from cloned human embryos in a move raising serious ethical concerns. Critics warn that the technique, which is similar to the one used to clone Dolly the sheep, could pave the way for designer babies being cloned in laboratories. The new process involves skin cells being taken from an adult and the genetic information placed inside a donor egg which had been stripped of its own DNA. Electricity is then used to encourage the egg to develop into an embryo. Josephine Quintavale from Comment on Reproductive Ethics questioned the need for the research when more simple ways of making customised stem cells already exist. And Dr David King, founder of Human Genetics Alert, warned scientists have finally delivered the baby that would-be human cloners have been waiting for, a method for reliably creating cloned human embryos. This makes it imperative that we create an international ban on human cloning before any more research like this takes place. Finally, Education Secretary Michael Gove has accepted an invitation from the Church of England to a meeting of diocesan bishops to discuss the Church's participation in education and hear about the positive impact church schools are making around the country. Outside state-run establishments, the C of E is the largest provider of education, with just under 5,000 schools and academies. The Chadwick Report, published by the Church of England last year, praised church schools for their strong and distinctive character. The report, entitled The Church School of the Future Review, said the school should ensure a Christian ethos permeates the whole educational experience. The report also highlighted the challenge for new and existing church schools to maintain their Christian character in an increasingly fragmented education system and amid strong attacks from secularists. At a recent meeting of the Durham and Newcastle Diocesan Education Boards, the chairman, the Venerable Stuart Bain, said church schools need to be ready for the challenges ahead.
The changing sort of landscape of education is really sort of asking the church to get on its mettle in terms of its distinctiveness and its inclusivity in terms of providing education. I think it challenges us to go back to what's at the heart of church school education, which is a strong church Christian ethos, excellence in RE, worship, that all contributes into really good educational outcomes across the board. Chadwick is going to challenge both dioceses and schools to deliver that.
Well, that's all for this week. For more information and regular updates on all of our stories, plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.